Draven Holt had never wanted to be here. He was an engineer, a quiet human, who liked machines more than people. And the idea of speaking at an alien diplomatic summit felt like a nightmare someone else should be having. But when the assigned diplomat fell sick 2 hours before departure, Draven was the only human on the research station who understood the Velaryon Energy Lattice project well enough to explain it. So, with a rushed set of instructions and a suit that didn't quite fit, he was pushed onto the shuttle and sent toward the shining world of Velaryon Prime. Even from orbit, the planet looked unreal. Crystalline continents reflected starlight, like giant mirrors. Floating cities drifted above mountains like drifting lanterns. Velaryons themselves were famous for their elegance and sharp beauty. And Draven already felt too plain, too human, too out of place. He wished he could hide behind the shuttle door forever. When the vessel landed, he stepped out into a hall carved from shimmering sapphire. Velaryon guards stood on each side in perfect formation, their silver armor polished until he could see his own nervous reflection in it. A guide led him forward. Speaking in formal tones he barely understood, Draven nodded politely and hoped he did not offend anyone by accident. The hall opened into a great chamber, filled with nobles dressed in flowing robes. Their skin resembled crystal glass, glowing softly with inner light. Draven had seen pictures before, but none of them prepared him for seeing them in person. Their presence was overwhelming, like standing among living stars. He walked slowly, careful not to trip on the long steps. He reached the center just as an important ceremony was beginning. A large circular platform rotated gently, and a group of nobles raised their hands toward the throne. Draven swallowed hard. He tried to stay behind them, out of the way, but his guide misunderstood and motioned for him to step forward. No, I'll just wait," he whispered, but the guide insisted. Before he knew what was happening, Draven was standing in front of every noble in the chamber, directly facing the throne where the Velaryon Emperor and his daughter sat. His heart dropped. He didn't even have his notes open. Someone signaled him to speak. Draven took a small breath and stepped forward. The Emperor watched him with a calm, unreadable face. And beside him sat the princess, radiant, curious, graceful in a way that made Draven forget how to breathe. He began to talk, stumbling over his first few words, trying to explain the energy lattice system humanity was developing with Velaryon scientists. But as he spoke, he noticed puzzled looks spreading through the nobles. Whispering began, harsh, shocked murmurs in their melodic language. Draven froze. Had he mispronounced something? Did he accidentally insult someone? He tried to apologize. He had learned a few Velaryon words, mostly polite phrases. He reached for the one that meant, "I meant no disrespect." But the moment he said it, complete silence filled the chamber. The nobles stiffened. Several gasped. The Emperor's eyebrow lifted. The princess's eyes widened in surprise, then softened with sudden, unexpected amusement. Draven felt a cold panic sink into his stomach. "What did I just say?" he asked quietly. No one answered. Instead, Princess Seralith slowly rose from her seat. Her movements were gentle, like flowing light. She stepped down from the throne's high platform and approached him. Each step echoed lightly on the crystal floor. Draven stood frozen, unable to look away. He had never seen anyone like her, tall, luminous, her eyes bright like starlight reflecting on water. When she reached him, she tilted her head slightly, studying his face with a curious, almost playful expression. Then she smiled. Not a simple, polite smile. A warm, genuine one, as if she found something delightful in the chaos he had unknowingly created. Her voice rang through the chamber, clear and melodic. "Human, do you understand what you have spoken?" Draven swallowed. "Clearly not," he whispered. Her smile widened. She stepped a little closer. Enough for him to feel the warmth coming from her crystalline skin. In our ancient tongue, she said softly. You did not say you meant no disrespect. She paused for a moment, watching his reaction. What you said was a vow. A very old one, rarely spoken. It means, I devote my life and strength to you. Draven's mind went blank. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. And, she continued, eyes sparkling with mischief and curiosity, it is traditionally said only during a courtship ceremony. The chamber erupted into louder whispers. Draven felt the ground tilt under him. I swear I didn't mean I was trying to apologize. I know, she said gently. But intention does not change the meaning of the words. He wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. He tried to back away, but the princess lightly raised a hand, stopping him with a simple gesture. Then, with the entire court watching, she leaned in just a little and asked in a soft but clear voice, Wait, are you asking to marry me? Draven froze like a malfunctioning robot. Every noble leaned forward, holding their breath. The emperor's expression remained unreadable, though his eyes narrowed with interest. The air itself felt thick enough to choke on. No! Draven blurted out, louder than he intended. His ears burned. I mean, yes, no, I wasn't trying to propose. I don't even know how courting works on this planet. I'm just an engineer. A ripple of laughter moved through the nobles, a gentle, surprised sort of laughter. Not unkind, but definitely amused. Princess Seralith smiled again, this time with open delight. She seemed far from offended. Instead, she looked at Draven with the expression of someone discovering a new puzzle they very much wanted to solve. Human honesty is refreshing, she said. Draven wished the moment would end. But instead, something heavier settled over the room. A new meaning, a new importance. The nobles whispered in their crystalline language, glancing at the princess. At Draven. At the emperor. The idea of a human accidentally making a royal vow sparked more excitement than Draven ever wanted in his entire life. The emperor finally stood. His voice boomed across the chamber. The ancient vow has been spoken, and by tradition, its intent must be tested. Draven's heart dropped again. Tested? What does that mean? Princess Seralith looked at him. Eyes glowing softly. It means, she said, you will face the trial of intent. She placed a hand gently over her heart. And I will be watching. Draven realized then that his terrible, accidental mistake had just become humanity's most unexpected diplomatic challenge. And there was no way out. Draven Holt spent the next hour wishing he could turn invisible. After the emperor announced the trial of intent, the nobles dispersed through the great chamber with excited murmurs. Every glance sent toward him carried curiosity, amusement, and something heavier expectation. He had never imagined a simple apology would throw him into the center of an alien royal ritual. He was an engineer, not a hero, not a diplomat, and definitely not someone ready to court an alien princess. 2 guards guided him out of the main hall into a quieter corridor made of pale crystal. The corridor glowed softly, as if light lived within the walls themselves. Draven walked stiffly, feeling small and out of place. One of the guards led him into a waiting room filled with cushions and drinks that shimmered with colors he had never seen before. He didn't touch anything. He just sat down, his heart racing. He whispered to himself, I can't do this. I can't do any of this. But the moment he said it, the door opened. Princess Seralith stepped inside, her presence lighting the room more than the crystal walls. Draven jumped up so quickly he nearly knocked over the chair. She smiled gently. Relax, human. I came only to speak. Draven swallowed and tried to look normal, though he felt anything but. She walked closer, each movement smooth and calm, as if she floated rather than walked. I owe you an explanation, she said. No, you don't, Draven said quickly. I'm the one who messed everything up. She gave a soft laugh. Actually, You managed something no one has done in hundreds of years. You said a vow so old that many Valarians have forgotten its exact pronunciation. Some think it was only a legend. And yet you said it perfectly. Draven blinked at her. I didn't know what it meant. I just tried to say sorry. That is exactly why everyone is shocked, she replied. She studied him with calm, glowing eyes. To speak a vow without meaning to means your heart is louder than your mind. For Valarians, that is rare. Draven rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. Humans say stupid things all the time. It's not special. But you said something ancient and sacred. She took another step closer. And you said it to me. She wanted. No. I'm an woman. Draven almost tripped over his own feet trying to step back. I'm not trying to marry you. Her expression softened in a way that confused him. It wasn't anger. It wasn't offense. It was curiosity, mixed with something else. Something warm. I believe you, she said quietly. But you must understand how our customs work. The vow was spoken. Not by me. Not by anyone else. By you. And tradition demands the trial of intent. Draven sat down again because his legs finally gave up on him. What exactly is this trial? What am I supposed to do? Fight monsters? Jump through fire? She shook her head gently. The trial is not a test of strength. It is a test of sincerity. To see if the speaker truly meant the vow. But I didn't mean it. Yes, she said. But the trial does not judge intention at the moment. It judges the heart as it is now. She reached out, almost touching his shoulder before stopping herself. I came to tell you this so you are not afraid. The tasks are not designed to harm you. That makes me feel only a little better, Draven muttered. She smiled again, but this time there was a hint of something thoughtful in her expression. Humans are very different from us. When you spoke the vow, the entire court felt something. Something we do not have a word for. Confusion? Draven guessed. She tilted her head. No, courage. Draven stared at her. He definitely didn't feel brave. Before he could argue, the chamber door opened again. A royal attendant bowed deeply. Princess Saralith, the Emperor requests your presence. She nodded, then turned back to Draven. You will be taken to a rest chamber. The first trial begins tomorrow. If you have any questions, ask your guide. He will remain with you. Draven stood slowly, trying to gather any last bit of dignity he still had. Thank you for explaining. She smiled softly. You are welcome, human. Then she left. The door closing, quietly, behind her. Draven sank back into the chair, hands in his hair. What am I doing? He whispered. The next morning came too fast. A guide led Draven through glowing corridors toward the trial hall. He prayed the floor wouldn't collapse under him. When they arrived, several nobles were already present, standing as silent observers, and on a raised platform stood the Emperor and Princess Saralith. Draven tried not to stare at her, but it was impossible. She watched him with calm interest, as if she wanted to see every reaction. The Emperor raised a hand. The first trial begins. This is the trial of understanding. A circular device rose from the floor. It looked like a puzzle made of shifting pieces of light. Draven blinked. A puzzle? Several nobles exchanged surprised looks. The Emperor nodded. Correct. Draven approached cautiously. The device emitted a soft hum. Lines of energy moved across its surface, forming shapes he did not recognize. He thought the trial would require strength or bravery. But this was something he understood. A problem to solve. A challenge of logic. Something human. He placed a hand on the device. The moment he touched it, the shapes shifted faster. He recognized patterns from energy grids and wave diagrams, things he worked with every day. Oh, he breathed. Okay. I can do this. For the first time since arriving, his fear eased. He moved pieces around, adjusting patterns, stabilizing energy flows. The device responded with brighter light. The nobles murmured in surprise. Even the emperor leaned forward slightly. Princess Saralith watched him with a quiet smile. Draven focused, making small corrections. He stopped thinking about the crowd, or the throne, or the vow. He simply worked. His hands moved with confidence. He lacked in speech. His mind relaxed into its familiar rhythm. After a few minutes, the device emitted a rising tone and locked into a stable, glowing form. The room filled with soft golden light. The emperor stood. The human passes the first trial. The nobles murmured again, this time with impressed tones. Draven stepped back, breathing hard but relieved. He looked up at the princess. She didn't just smile, she looked proud. She descended from the platform and walked toward him. When she reached him, she spoke softly, so only he could hear. You see? You are more prepared than you think. He felt heat rise in his cheeks. It was just a puzzle. But you solved something designed for Velaryon minds, she said. Do not dismiss your strength. Draven didn't know what to say. Her confidence unsettled him in a strange, warm way. The Emperor's voice echoed through the hall. Prepare for the second trial. Tomorrow, the test of intention will continue. Princess Saralith stepped back, giving Draven one last gentle look before returning to the throne. For the first time, Draven walked away not with fear, but with a quiet spark of something he could not name. Maybe, just maybe, he had a chance. Draven woke earlier than the alarms. His thoughts were too loud, too restless. He lay on the soft crystal bed, staring at the glowing ceiling, as if it could give him answers. Today was the second trial. Yesterday he had survived the first only because it had been a puzzle, something familiar, something human. But he had no idea what waited for him now. His guide arrived silently, as Velaryons always did. The princess requests your presence for morning walk, the guide announced. Draven sat up too fast. Princess Saralith? She asked for me? Yes, the guide replied. She says it will help you understand today's trial. Draven wasn't sure if that comforted him or scared him more, but he quickly dressed and followed the guide through bright corridors. The halls were peaceful, filled with soft harmonies humming through the crystal walls. Velaryon structures always seemed alive, as if singing their own songs. He found the princess waiting in a garden that looked like a dream, tall crystal flowers glowing in shades of blue and pink, and tiny floating lights drifting like soft fireflies. She stood near a fountain of shimmering liquid light, her long robe catching the glow around her. When she saw Draven, she smiled in that gentle, warm way that made his heart trip over itself. Good morning, human, she said. He cleared his throat awkwardly. Morning, princess. Saralith, she corrected kindly. Use my name. It is acceptable. He wasn't sure it was, but he nodded. Good morning, Saralith. She seemed pleased, and she began walking slowly along a curved path. Draven kept pace beside her, trying not to stumble or stare too obviously. You passed yesterday's trial with ease, she said. But today's test will be different. It is not about logic. Then, what is it about? Draven asked. She paused near a tall flower, touching its glowing petals. Today, the trial will test your heart. Draven froze. My heart? I don't think I'm any good at that. She laughed softly. You humans are more emotional than you realize. Velaryons see emotion as something to be studied, controlled. But humans feel with strength. Your reactions yesterday proved that. Yesterday I was panicking. Draven said. Is that strength? That is honesty, she replied. And that is part of why the court is curious about you. Draven stared at the glowing garden around them. I didn't come here to be interesting. I just came to explain a technology project. Restin. Work? Restin. Restin. Sometimes the universe chooses a different story than the one we expect, Sarilith said. Her eyes, bright like starlight, rested on him with a calm intensity. Draven felt warmth rise in his chest. A strange comfort mixed with nervousness. Before he could respond, a chime echoed through the garden. Sarilith turned toward the tall gates. "It is time," she said. "Do not be afraid. Today's trial only asks that you be yourself." Draven wished that helped more. They walked together toward the trial hall. The chamber was different today, darker, quieter. The air was heavy with anticipation. A circular space had been cleared in the center, surrounded by nobles watching in perfect stillness. The Emperor stood at the front, his presence commanding and distant. "The second trial will begin now," he announced. "This is the trial of truth." Draven's stomach twisted. He didn't like the sound of that. A device rose from the center of the floor, not a puzzle this time, but a sphere of swirling light. It pulsed gently, like a slow heartbeat. Sarilith whispered, "It shows what is in your heart. Not your memories, not your thoughts, only your intentions." "That sounds worse," Draven whispered back. She gave him a small smile, trying to be encouraging. The Emperor spoke again. "Place your hand on the sphere. It will react to your truth. If your intentions are sincere, the light will remain steady. If not, it will show instability." Draven glanced around nervously. Every noble was watching. Every whisper would be about humanity if he failed. He stepped forward, slowly, trying to steady his breathing. His reflection twisted in the swirling light of the sphere. "What do I even think about?" he muttered. "Think nothing," Sarilith said gently. "Just be honest." He placed his hand on the sphere. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sphere brightened, soft at first, then more intensely. It felt warm under his palm, as if it recognized something inside him. But then it flickered. Nobles murmured. The Emperor's eyebrow lifted. Sarilith stepped forward slightly, concern crossing her face. Draven felt panic rise. No, come on, I'm trying." The sphere pulsed harder, showing confusion in its colors. It reflected Draven's fear, his uncertainty, his embarrassment. "You are afraid," Sarilith said softly. "I'm terrified," Draven admitted, voice shaking. "I didn't mean the vow. I don't know the customs. I'm afraid of messing everything up. And, he squeezed his eyes shut. "I'm afraid of disappointing all of you." The sphere flashed bright, then dim, confused again. "Fear is not failure," Sarilith whispered. "But the trial is not asking for courage," she said. "It is asking for truth. Fear is truth too." Draven opened his eyes, meeting hers. Her gaze held warmth, soft, steady, grounding him. He took a slow breath. "I don't know what happens next. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how I'm supposed to be." He swallowed. "But I'm going to try, because I care about what happens. I care about not causing trouble, and I honestly want to understand your world." The sphere pulsed again. This time, the light settled soft but steady, glowing with a calm golden color. The chamber filled with surprised murmurs. A few nobles bowed their heads respectfully. The Emperor nodded slowly, as if impressed despite himself. Sarilith exhaled in relief, her face brightening. "The human passes the second trial," the Emperor declared. Draven stepped back, shaking slightly. Sarilith approached him immediately, her expression full of quiet pride. "You spoke honestly," she said. "That is why it worked." "I felt like I was breaking it," Draven said weakly. "That is how truth feels sometimes." He gave a nervous laugh. "I didn't expect any of this to happen." "I know," she said, "but I am glad you are here." Draven froze. Her words settled in his chest like warm embers. Before he could respond, the Emperor's voice echoed again, Tomorrow begins the third and final trial. Draven suddenly felt the weight of the future pressing down on him. Sarilith looked at him, her glowing eyes soft and steady. "Trust yourself," she said. "You have done more than you realize." As he left the hall, Draven realized something had changed inside him. The fear was still there, but something else had grown with it. A quiet strength, a small spark, and maybe a deeper connection to the princess who believed in him more than he believed in himself. The palace felt colder that evening, even though the crystal walls glowed with their usual soft light. Draven tried to rest, but sleep refused to come. Tomorrow was the final trial. And every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Emperor's serious face, the watching nobles, and the swirling sphere of the trial of truth. He pushed himself up from the bed and paced across the room. The quiet was too heavy. His mind kept circling the same fear. What if he failed the last trial? What would happen to the Alliance? What would happen to Sarilith's trust? He paused at the window, staring at the floating city lights. Valarian Prime was beautiful, far more beautiful than he had realized when he first arrived. Now, the glowing towers and floating bridges felt strangely familiar, almost comforting. Maybe because somewhere in this vast, shining city was the princess who believed in him. A soft chime broke through his thoughts. The door slid open, and Sarilith entered without ceremony, her robe shimmering like silver water. Draven nearly tripped over himself standing up. "Princess, I mean Sarilith," he stammered. "Is something wrong?" Her expression was calm, but he sensed tension under the surface. "I wished to check on you before the trial tomorrow. You looked troubled when you left the hall today." He rubbed the back of his neck. "You have very good eyes." She smiled faintly. "Your emotions are very loud, Draven Holt." He laughed nervously. "Yeah, humans do that." She stepped closer, her hands folded gently in front of her. "You passed 2 trials that many Valarians would struggle with. You should be proud." "Don, I'm just afraid of messing up," he admitted. "I'm afraid something will go wrong." For a moment, she didn't speak. Her eyes softened with concern. "Your fear makes you careful. That is not a weakness." Before he could answer, a sudden knock echoed at the door. Sarilith turned sharply. "Enter." A royal guard stepped inside and bowed. "Your Highness, there has been movement in the lower court. Some nobles have gathered without permission." Sarilith's face hardened. "Which nobles?" "Lord Vorexis and his supporters." Draven didn't know who that was, but he didn't like the tone. The guard continued. "We believe they are planning to interfere with tomorrow's trial." Draven felt the air shift. Sarilith straightened, her calm expression turning cold and sharp. "Interfere how?" she asked. "We are not certain," the guard said. "But we intercepted messages suggesting they want to prevent the human from completing the trial." Draven's heart dropped. "Why would they do that?" Sarilith turned to him. "Because they fear what your success means." She paused, choosing her words. "Lord Vorexis is part of a faction that believes Valarians must remain separate from all other species. They see your accidental vow as a danger. If you pass the final trial, it will give humans great honor. They do not want that." Draven swallowed hard. "But I never meant." "It does not matter," she said gently. The guard stepped forward. "Princess, we request your presence in the council chamber." She hesitated and looked back at Draven. "Stay in your room, lock the door. Do not open it for anyone except me." Her voice was firm, almost commanding, but beneath it was something warm. "Yes," Draven said. "I'll stay." She nodded once, then followed the guard out into the corridor, her robe trailing like a river of light behind her. The door closed, leaving Draven alone. He sat on the bed again, gripping his hands. He didn't want to cause trouble. He didn't want political fights or conspiracies. He just wanted to survive tomorrow without messing up. But a quiet voice inside whispered that things might be more dangerous than he thought. Hours passed. Draven tried to rest again, but unease lingered like a shadow. Then he heard footsteps approaching. Not light steps like Seralith's. Heavy, slow. He froze. The footsteps stopped right outside his door. Then a soft voice spoke, too soft to be recognizable. "Human, open the door." Draven's heart pounded. Seralith had told him not to open it for anyone but her. He didn't move. The voice came again, sharper this time. "Open it now." Draven stepped back quietly. Then the handle shook violently. "Open it." Draven rushed to the panel beside the bed and pressed the emergency seal button. The door glowed red, reinforcing itself. For a moment, silence filled the hallway. Then someone struck the door with force that made the crystal walls tremble. Draven stumbled back. "Okay, that's not good." But before the door could break, another voice echoed in the hallway, clear, commanding, furious. "Stand down." Draven recognized the voice instantly. Seralith. The sound of energy crackled, followed by shouts and the crash of bodies hitting the ground. Draven pressed his ear against the door, heart racing. Within a minute, the chaos stopped. Then came a calm knock. "Draven," Seralith said. "It is safe now." He rushed to open the door. Seralith stood there with 2 guards behind her and a controlled but fierce glow in her eyes. "What happened?" Draven asked. "Exactly what I feared," she said. "Vorexis tried to sabotage the trial early by harming you or forcing you to withdraw." Draven felt cold. "He tried to break in." "I know." Her voice was soft but edged with anger. "He will be punished. But we must move you to a safer place." 2 more guards arrived and led Draven and Seralith through a secure passageway. Draven walked beside the princess, trying to calm his racing thoughts. "I didn't think people would go this far," he said quietly. "Some fear change more than anything," she replied. "Your presence challenges their beliefs. They cannot accept that a human, an outsider, may succeed in a sacred ritual." "I never asked for this," Draven murmured. Seralith slowed her steps and looked at him. Her eyes held warmth again. "I know. But you have faced every trial with honesty and courage, even when you were afraid. That is more than many warriors can claim. Rees, Edias." Her words steadied him, settling the panic in his chest. When they reached a secure chamber, she placed a hand gently on his shoulder, a rare gesture among Valarians. "Rest now," she said softly. "Tomorrow, no matter what Vorexis tries, I will stand with you." Draven felt his breath catch. In that moment, the danger and fear faded, replaced by something deeper, something steady and bright. As she left the room, Draven sat on the bed and whispered to himself, "I'm not doing this alone." For the first time since arriving on Valarian, he felt something stronger than fear, a quiet strength. Because the princess believed in him, and he was starting to believe in himself. Draven did not sleep that night. Even in the secure chamber, even with guards outside the door, his heart kept beating too fast. Every time he closed his eyes, he remembered the loud crash against the door, the anger in the unknown voice, and the calm fury in Seralith's eyes as she protected him. Morning arrived slowly. Soft crystal lights brightened the room, warming the walls with gentle colors. Draven stood and took a long breath. Today was the final trial. After everything, accidental vows, ancient words, glowing spheres, nobles plotting against him today, would decide everything. His guide arrived right on time. "The Emperor has summoned you," the guide said. "It is time." Draven nodded and followed. The palace felt different this morning. Guards stood in every hallway. Nobles whispered quietly behind fans of glowing crystal. Some watched him with curiosity, others with suspicion. Draven tried to focus on breathing normally as he walked through the long corridors, but the weight of 100 alien eyes made his shoulders tighten. Finally, they reached the trial hall. It was larger than before, vast, bright, filled with a gentle humming energy that vibrated through the floor. The nobles formed a wide circle around a raised platform in the center. At the far end, the emperor sat on his high throne, silent and stern, and standing beside him was Princess Seralith. She looked calm, but her eyes warmed the moment they found Draven. That single look eased something inside him. He straightened his posture and stepped forward. The emperor rose. "Human Draven Holt," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You have completed 2 trials: understanding and truth. The final trial will determine whether your vow was spoken with true intent, even unknowingly." Draven swallowed. "What is the final trial?" The emperor motioned toward the center platform. "The trial of choice." A crystal pillar rose from the floor, glowing faintly. On top rested 2 objects: a small crystal orb and a narrow silver band shaped like a simple bracelet. Seralith stepped forward, her robe brushing softly against the glass-like floor. "This trial," she said, "is not a test of skill or heart. It is a test of will." Draven frowned. "I don't understand." She walked down from the throne and approached him until only a few steps separated them. Her voice lowered, soft but clear. "You must decide." "Decide what?" She looked at him with steady eyes. "Whether you keep the vow or release it." The hall went silent. Draven felt his stomach twist. "Release? Keep? After everything?" Seralith explained gently. "The crystal orb will return the vow. It will free you from the ancient words you spoke. You will be allowed to leave Velaryon with honor, and no shame will fall on your people." Draven looked at the orb. So simple. So small. Freedom from the pressure. Freedom from trials. From political schemes. Freedom from the way his heart raced every time Seralith looked at him. "And the bracelet?" he asked quietly. Seralith touched the silver band gently. "If you choose this, you accept the vow. Truly, accept it. It means you remain tied to me." Draven felt his pulse skip. "It means joining our alliance with not just diplomacy," she continued softly, "but with your spirit, your courage, your heart. This choice would honor both our worlds." Draven stared at her. He remembered the fear he felt when he first arrived, the confusion of the vow, the panic in the hall. But he also remembered her laughter, her calm voice guiding him, the way she defended him from danger without hesitation. He remembered her saying, "I will stand with you," and the way those words felt like a promise. "Princess," he whispered, "what do you want me to choose?" She hesitated just for a heartbeat. Then, she stepped closer. Her voice dropped to a near whisper. "I want you to choose what is true. Not what is expected. Not what the court wants. Only what your heart says." The nobles leaned forward, breathless. The emperor watched with unreadable eyes. Draven felt the entire galaxy press on him. But at the same time, his choice suddenly felt clear. Not easy, but clear. He climbed the platform, his steps slow but steady. He stared at the orb, freedom, safety, simplicity, the life he knew. Then he looked at the bracelet connection, change, unknown, and something bright pulling him forward. He picked up the bracelet. A gasp rippled across the hall. Seralith's eyes widened. Not with shock, but with something warm and bright, like starlight blooming. Draven turned and faced the emperor. "I choose the vow." Whispers erupted everywhere. Some shocked, some furious, others delighted. The emperor raised a hand. Silence fell. He stepped down from the throne for the first time since Draven had met him. Standing tall and imposing, he extended his hand toward the bracelet. "Give it to the princess," he said. Draven swallowed and turned toward Seralith. She stepped forward, looking at him with a soft expression that made the world feel quieter. When she reached him, Draven gently placed the silver band on her wrist. The metal glowed instantly, expanding into intricate patterns of light that wrapped around her arm like flowing vines. A symbol formed above them, a swirling shape of golden energy that shimmered in the air. The nobles gasped again. Draven had no idea what it meant. Sarilith did. Her voice trembled just slightly as she whispered, "It means the vow accepted you." "The vow accepted me?" "Yes." She looked at him, glowing softly. "You did not just choose the vow chose you." Before Draven could react, the Emperor spoke loudly, his voice carrying strength and finality. "The human has completed the final trial. The vow is true. The alliance is sealed." The hall erupted, some in applause, some in shock, some in disbelief. But Draven didn't hear them. His eyes were on Sarilith. She stepped closer. "I did not expect this," she said softly. "But I am glad." She stepped closer. She stepped closer. She stepped closer. She stepped closer. "I am glad." She stepped closer. She stepped closer. Draven felt his cheeks warm. "I didn't expect it either." She smiled, radiant, sincere, warmer than any light in the palace. "Draven Holt, are you prepared for the next step?" He laughed weakly. "After all this? I don't think anything can surprise me again." "Good," she said, her smile widening. "Because your new role begins now." He blinked. "My new... what?" Sarilith lifted her glowing wrist, where the silver band shined like a living star. "When you placed this on me," she explained, "you accepted the role of royal companion. That means you will stand beside me. Always." Draven stared at her, speechless. I will?" "Yes," she said simply. Draven took a slow breath, feeling something warm spread through him. Acceptance, hope, and a strange excitement for the future. "I wish it," he said softly. Her smile grew, bright and beautiful. "Then let us begin." The nobles cheered. The Emperor nodded with approval. And above them, the golden symbol of the vow shimmered like a promise. Draven had arrived on Velaryon by accident. But staying? That was a choice, his choice. And as Sarilith walked beside him, the entire crystal hall glowing around them, he realized something deeply human. Sometimes the universe writes a story far better than anything he could have planned.